What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HAWGsports.com. Got a lot to talk about today as some things are developing with the Razorback football roster as we look ahead to 2024 spring drills starting probably March 7th. That's not confirmed yet, but looking like around March 7th. Of course, we're going to talk to Danny West about the latest in recruiting. There's a junior day coming up. Some recent offers have gone out, and we got to talk about this basketball team. Keith Grayson going to join us as well. All that and more on today's episode of Hog Sports Live. All right, before we get started, of course, I want to mention there's plenty of ways to watch and listen. You can always tune in on YouTube where we are streaming live. Hit the subscribe button and make sure to set it to where you're alerted anytime there are new videos. I think it's a different deal. I don't think you just hit the bell anymore, so I think you just have to set it when you subscribe to alert you. Also available on Facebook Live. Be one of 90,000 Razorback fans to follow us on Facebook Live. Certainly love to have you over there. We put out all of our free content from Hog Sports. Of course, Hog Sports is just $1 right now for your first month if you want the in-depth VIP coverage at Hog Sports. And, of course, Apple Podcasts, throw us a 5-star review if you haven't done so already. Let's see what Eric Musselman had to say after the game last night. 78-77, thrilling win over the Texas A&M Aggies.
Coach, you talked about the eagerness of the starters that you put out there, but 12 minutes in, you're up 20 points. I'm curious just what's going through your mind when you're up 20 on those guys.
Where has this been? No, I mean, look, we led the whole game. Again, give them credit, they led for 6 seconds, but for us, forget Texas A&M. We needed to lead from start to finish in a game. When you lose like we have of late, your confidence can get shaken. And I mean, all over the locker room, there's probably 40 signs in there that say, bring your swagger back. I mean, when we played Duke, we had swagger. We thought we were going to win the game. I know it's an exhibition game. I know nobody wants to hear it. I'm going to say it even though nobody wants to hear it. We had swagger when we played Purdue. And we need that back. And the only way to truly, truly get it back is to play well. And I thought we played great in the first half. I really did. I thought we came out of the jump ball with a team that looked like we had to win the game, which we had to win this game.
Man, it was incredible how that game developed. I mean, Arkansas with 8:01 to go in the first half led by 20 points. Led by 20 points actually twice. I think somewhere around 6-minute mark. Also led by 20. Texas A&M got it down. I think Arkansas went to half up 12 or 14, and then it was a battle the whole second half. Arkansas never could really separate. Texas A&M just kept chipping away at the lead. How about Tremont Mark, who's over here featured here, the featured photo. Tremont Mark, 35 points, 8 of 15. 2 of 3 from downtown, 17 of 22 from the free throw line. Arkansas shot 43 free throws. There was 73 free throws in the game. For a late night game, 8 o'clock, this one ended almost 11. This is almost a 3-hour game, which is just ridiculous. So many fouls called in this one. And, on the other side of it, you had Wade Taylor, the fourth, with 41 points for Texas A&M. I mean, just watching those two guys go at it back and forth was just a sight to see. And, of course, Mark at the end of the game kind of put themselves in a bad position, kind of put Arkansas in a bad position, missing the second of 2 free throws that just gave Arkansas a 2-point lead. That was with like 14 seconds left and 7.8 seconds left. Wade Taylor goes the other end from the top of the key, kind of an off-balance 3, and sinks it and gives them a 1-point lead. And you're just like, oh, my gosh, is this really how this is going to end? And, it was interesting how Buzz Williams and Texas A&M handled things that last 7.8 seconds because you had Tremont Mark going coast to coast, pulling up for kind of a – I don't know if you'd say it's off balance, but I can't even remember. Did it go off the glass? I don't think it did. But obviously sunk it with 1.1 seconds left, and Texas A&M couldn't get the inbounds in, and Arkansas wins the game 78-77. I just thought, and that was the most that Mark has had in his Arkansas career. It's only his second game winner on the collegiate level. He also had a half-court shot when he was at Houston when he was when they were playing Memphis. But 35 points. He had 34 against North Carolina back in November when he was hurt. Remember, he missed the Duke game because of that. I guess it was a back injury, but missed the Duke game. But had 34 points in that one before he got hurt, and then 35 in this one. But Wade Taylor was incredible, 41 points for Texas A&M. L. Ellis also 15 points. It was nice to see him get back. I thought it was interesting. I mean, you look at the last game against Florida, and the stars of the game are Layden Blocker, who played like 1 minute in this one, and Joseph Pinion, who didn't play at all. But that's also important. You know, I think Blocker is going to be a really good player for him. I'd like to see him have a bigger role than he has. But for this team to be a tournament team, to take the next step, you got to have guys that were like, goose egging in the Florida game to really be your players for you. I mean, your best players, Tremont Mark obviously showed up in that one, but L. Ellis has got to show up. Devo has to show up, and Devo only had 7 points in 33 minutes, had an interesting game, got ejected with a flagrant 2. Trevon Brazile obviously has got to be a stud for you. Trevon Brazile in the latest 24/7 Sports mock draft I saw, he's still projected to go 10th overall, but hasn't had the season that we thought. Keon Minifield, that guy scored 32 points a few games ago, and then 14 the next, and then 0, and then 3 in this one. And fouled. Well, it had 4 fouls in like 9 minutes of action. So, Jalen Graham, obviously, Mekhi Mitchell. Jalen Graham played 3 minutes. Mekhi played 4. It's interesting, and Jeremiah Davenport has been playing really well in the time that he's got. When he came in initially, he had like 7 points in 2 minutes or something like that. I mean, just like really came in, was kind of a microwave for him. So. They've got to get certain guys going, but it was great to see Arkansas win. It looked like they were going to squander it. I mean, they shot over 50% in the first half. What did they shoot in the second half? First half, I'm not sure. They shot like barely over 50% at one point early in the game. I mean, they obviously jumped out to a 20-point lead. They were on fire. But in the second half, they shot just 24%, 6 of 25. So it's amazing how the two halves went for both teams. Texas A&M is obviously an incredible offensive rebounding team. Out-rebounded Arkansas 47-35. Arkansas did pretty well at the end. It started off strong rebounding and finished pretty well rebounding also. So, all right. I know everybody saw the game. Arkansas next is South Carolina, noon, SEC Network, Bud Walton Arena, Saturday, January 20th. So, that game's coming up. Can Arkansas put 2 and 2 together, 2 games together? And also, I mean, Arkansas lost 76-66 to Georgia. South Carolina just lost at home to Georgia last night also. They played a late game. So both teams get a little bit of extra with it being a Tuesday game. All right, let's get into this because I think this is important with Razorback football roster. I know that's why, the headline, and obviously a lot of reason people tuned in. We're going to have hopefully some more stuff confirmed tomorrow on some players, and you could, if you wanted to go to the Razor's Edge, you could read what we're talking about right now on HawgSports.com. Again, it's just $1 for your first month at HawgSports.com. But what we do know right now, some of the latest news, Quincy McAdoo, according to sources, is going to be taking a medical hardship. Now, what that means is his football playing days at Arkansas are over, okay? And it's unfortunate. He had that serious car accident back in May. This is kind of burying the lead because I probably should have led with all this stuff, but had to talk about Arkansas basketball. But really unfortunate for Quincy McAdoo. Had that serious car accident in May and missed all of last season. We were wondering, not only would he be back to football, but would he be back to full health after all that? But so what a medical hardship means is the player can still remain on scholarship. So that means they get their academics and school paid for. They get the free ride. However, their football playing days at Arkansas are done, and they, at the same time, don't count against the 85 maximum allowable scholarship players according to the NCAA. So McAdoo, now later on down the road, say McAdoo gets healthy, he's still got some eligibility left. That starts when you enter college, is when you're, no matter if you're playing sports or not, the day you start college, that's when your clock starts. So say down the road he gets healthy, he could enter the transfer portal and play somewhere else. He cannot play at Arkansas anymore. Okay, so Quincy McAdoo going on medical hardship. Eli Henderson also going on medical hardship. Okay, he's he'd be a redshirt sophomore center coming up this season. He's not played any snaps the last 2 years. He was banged up a good bit to start the year. I do have another source tell me that it's possible he could remain with the program in some kind of capacity. I don't know if that means a graduate assistant or something like that, but he could potentially remain with the program. We already knew that Terry Wells is going to take a medical hardship. Terry Wells announced that on Twitter. So he's no longer going to count against the 85, and his playing days are also over. Terry Wells, he only played one game, I believe it was Georgia State, his freshman year back in 2021, and didn't play at all last year or the year before that, and has just had injuries. The year before that, I know it was a back injury. I'm not sure what the injury was this past year, but obviously did not play at all last year. And so those are the three that are taking medicals. Cole Carson is also graduating early. Cole Carson, like Terry Wells, would be a redshirt junior next year, but Cole Carson is graduating early and is not expected to be with the team in 2024 either. And so, yeah, some important news there with the Razorback roster. Carson has not played either. He's not played a snap at Arkansas during his time. It's kind of been, I guess like a third-team guard during his time there. So we've got some other things that we hope to have out officially tomorrow. And, you can read what we're talking about on the Razor's Edge. Most of it's regarding super seniors and stuff like that, getting the roster down to a manageable number. Now, it's important to remember they've got some guys that aren't enrolling early. So they've got a little wiggle room. So, I think maybe 4 guys or something maybe not be enrolling early. We'll talk to Danny about that to get that official number. But so if they had 85 guys in the spring, they still have some time to get that adjusted before the summer arrives and the other players arrive. They just can't have more than 85 on scholarship at one time. So they could technically be planning on like 89 guys, which they're not, but they could technically be, if the number's 4 of late enrollees and, wiggle room that a little bit better later. So that's kind of how that works. Transfers in and transfers out right now. I've got Arkansas with 13 incoming transfers and 17 scholarship transfers outgoing. There's a few more, I think 4 more that have announced that they're entering the transfer portal who are walk-ons, like Blake Ford, the kicker, Khalil Geralt, wide receiver. So, but 17 scholarship players outgoing, 13 incoming. That's not as much as that was last year. We know that, they'd obviously like to bring in 1-2 more offensive linemen. I think they need another defensive tackle. I think that they could use a veteran linebacker. Probably those spots would be the main ones that I would say, you need to consider adding some numbers there. Technically right now, pending on some stuff that we've got in the works right now, again, you can read about that on the Razor's Edge. That's our premium forum on HawgSports, one of the most active forums in the entire country. But pending on things right now, until those things happen, I guess, got Arkansas at 87 total scholarship players right now. Obviously, the maximum is 85. Still some things in the works. Should have more officially on that tomorrow. Today, by the way, if anybody's wondering, it is Wednesday, January 17th at 1:48 p.m. All right. Feel good about it? All right. Let's hop over to Danny West. I know you're following Danny West. Danny West is almost at 50,000 followers on X. So if you haven't followed him, you can at Danny West 24/7 on X. Provides a ton of great information, especially when it comes to the realm of recruiting. But really, Danny provides a lot of great inside information on all the sports, especially everything Razorback football. Danny, my man, how's it going?
What's happening?
Well, it's warming up a little bit. I think we got a high of 37 today.
That'll work.
Yeah.
That's a heat wave. Hey, first of all, it's an honor to be speaking to the Arkansas Sports Writer of the Year for 2023. So congrats on that.
Oh, thanks, Danny. I really appreciate that. It's nice to be recognized. Nice to know people enjoy my stuff. And I think I'm probably going to go to the award ceremony in Winston-Salem. I think it's in June. Maybe make a little vacation around that. I've heard good things about how they treat you. But certainly thank you to the NSMA, National Sports Media Association, for naming me Sports Writer of the Year. And congratulations to Matt Zimmerman, also Sportscaster of the Year for Arkansas. So nice to be recognized. Appreciate that, Danny.
Nice feather in the cap for the website too. I take all
Yeah.
these victories as victories for the website.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it's all for me and you. I know, Danny. It's all about HawgSports and how we do things, how we cover things as a team for our membership, and ultimately, it's all about the Razorbacks for us. I mean, that's where we want the news and the focus on, and some interesting news. Obviously, you're probably listening. I know we've talked about just some of the news with the roster, with some of the guys taking medical red shirts. Certainly hate that for Quincy McAdoo. I know you probably want to say something on Quincy, especially, but we're also got to look ahead to the future of the Razorback roster.
Yeah, with Quincy, man, obviously you hate it. I never really got to know him all that great, but he was always super nice to me. When I did need something, he would always get back to me. Just a really nice kid. And obviously, man, you think back, it's pretty crazy to see how quickly he rose over there. You don't see that very often.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the year, you got a true freshman who didn't go through spring ball, by the way, shows up, he's playing wide receiver, and one day they're like, hey, you give it a shot. And instantly, he's their best corner.
Yep.
Like that dude was, and
interceptions.
Who knows,
yeah.
man? Who knows? Maybe he's not done. Maybe there's a way he can work back, and I'm pulling for him. You see the
Mm-hmm.
clips of him working out and pictures and stuff. So, man, I'm pulling for the guy. However, whatever route he needs to take. But boy, I hated that.
Yeah, it was a tough one. That was back in May when he had that accident on I-49, and certainly keeping him in our thoughts and prayers, and wishing him the best. We'll follow him wherever he goes. If he does get back, and obviously his Razorback playing days are over, but if he does get back wherever he ends up, definitely will always be a fan of Quincy McAdoo. Danny, let's switch it over a little bit to Razorback recruiting. There's
Sure.
A lot of recent offers that have gone out, and you've been on top of that, of course.
It's that time of year. I enjoy January. It's kind of my month, believe it or not. Back in the day, it used to be just balls to the wall. You never caught a break,
Yeah.
But nowadays, there is a little bit of a lull, and you can kind of get organized and start to look ahead. And you have to, because some of these offers are going out left and right. Jimmy Smith, a couple of rumors floating again last week about South Carolina and this and that. Meanwhile, he's just out there offering everybody in the state of Georgia, so I think that's a good sign. Anytime Jimmy's in Georgia, you've seen Mateos offer several new 2025 and 26, I want to say, offensive linemen since he got over here. So, I want to count 16, I believe, is the number over the last week or so. That could also include a couple that, maybe the guy didn't report it or announce it yet. So, they've been active on the recruiting trail. We can run through a couple of these real quick.
Sure.
Jack Lange, of course, January 7th, about 10 days ago now, January 7th. Jack Lange out of Eureka, Missouri, obviously took a trip to Arkansas this past weekend. So anytime you get that quick turnaround visit immediately following an offer, that's got to mean something. So we did have a report on Jack. People can feel free to check that out on the site. But big-time offensive lineman for that 2025 class. Got KD Jones on campus last week. Trey recently offered just over the weekend. He got his offer, showed up with several nice offers already. 5'11", 170, running back out of Jinx, Oklahoma. You ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah. Powerhouse.
Yeah, he's got Baylor, a bunch of SEC, Colorado, Kentucky, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. I want to say Oklahoma has not offered yet, so Utah's in the mix there. Really good player. Again, he's the 2026 running back out of Jinx, Oklahoma. And Jimmy Smith, obviously, him being a running back, he was behind that offer. So we've seen a lot of that over the last few days, a lot of 2027s, 2028s now, Trey. That makes me feel old, but I think that's the first two 2028 offers that we've seen go out, and those belong to Caleb Ivey, 2028 wide receiver down in Hampton, Georgia, Dutchtown High School. and Robert Brown. Now, there's a name I can handle all day long on this show, Trey. Robert Brown, 2028 lineman out of Savannah Christian High School down there. So, yeah, I like KD Jones and Robert Brown. If we can keep those type of names coming, I think I could hold on to my job here.
Yeah. Why do you find out that Brown has some weird pronunciation, actually?
Probably.
Junior Day coming up, Danny. They've had one, right? They've had one already.
Actually got a head start on it this year. They started in December, if you'll remember. December 9th, I want to say, was a Saturday, that second Saturday in December. And so far, buddy, we haven't seen just a stellar blockbuster type group come in yet, but they have had two, of course, in December. And then last weekend started the run of 3 straight weekends here where they're going to welcome guys back to campus for junior days. And you mentioned it there. Of course, this Saturday, got a pretty good list going so far. We'll see how it changes throughout the week, but a couple of committed guys headlining that list. That's Grayson Wilson, your 2025 quarterback out of CAC, been committed since last April. Tay Lockett out of Bellflower, California, big-time safety at St. John Bosco High School, committed in August. Really impressive offer list. I know he's really young as a 2026. He'll only be a junior this next year. So, that was a big-time pickup. He had Georgia, Florida State, USC for a California kid, Miami, Oklahoma, you name it, he had it. So those two will be coming in. You got Grant Smith, one of Bobby Petrino's early targets. Everybody loves hearing about who Petrino's going after. Here's a 2026 quarterback out of Spring, Texas, Grand Oaks High School. He's got Arkansas, Baylor, TCU, and the Aggies of A&M so far. Want to throw in one more real quick. Troy Pless, Pless, 2026 offensive lineman out of Texas, Shoemaker High School. He just got offered last week. So here again, another quick turnaround. You get the offer 1 week, get him on campus next week. He's got Baylor and Texas Tech on that early offer list as well. They got a few other in-state types that they're evaluating, keeping an eye on. So we'll continue to add to that list as needed.
All right, Danny. Anything else you want to add to today's show?
Who you got coming on, Keith?
We got old Keith Grayson coming on. He's
I'll step out of the way and let the man have it.
Yeah, you're going to want to tune in for Keith. I'm sure he's got some.
I'll hang around.
All right, brother. Talk to you later.
All right, man.
All right, everybody. That's Danny West again. You can follow Danny at Danny West 24/7 on Twitter. HawgSports. Well, X. We're saying X now. I deemed it. We're not saying Twitter anymore. It's X. So you can follow him at Danny West 24/7 on X. I hear a lot of people say that different, by the way. Some people say 247, some people say 247, but it is technically 24/7, as in 24 hours, 7 days a week. All right, let's go to Keith now. Keith Grayson is kind of a jack of all trades. I believe Keith is now retired from coaching high school football and focus on real estate and his Razorback fandom, but Keith does a great job giving us the fan perspective and is always entertaining. This Twitter handle, I've got to change Keith's Twitter handle. I don't know why I still have that old one, but he also still runs the 4th and 25 Fund, which is an NIL collective that is dedicated in a lot of ways to charity and stuff. Keith, my man, how's it going?
How's it going, bud?
Oh, it's all right. We're, talking this Razorback basketball game, obviously. I'm sure you watched that. And just kind of a little bit of roster management with football. Obviously Quincy McAdoo, our sources tell us that he is going to take a medical hardship, which is disappointing because he was off to such a great start with his career and just the way it ended. And, of course, we know on Terry Wells and then Eli Henderson and then Cole Carson expected to graduate early. So a little bit of roster news going on, but big win for the Razorback basketball team also.
Yeah, I lost $100. I've been fading the Hogs. Won some money, so I'm still up on betting against Arkansas.
Well, I saw on Bet Saracen they were plus 2.5, right? Is that what you got them at?
No, I don't use that. I don't think I get that.
Well, you're out of state. Bet
Saracen's
for everybody in state in Arkansas. You can't. Yeah. I don't think you can use the national ones in Arkansas. So Bet Saracen's.
I use another one that will go unnamed. But and I know Danny already congratulated you on your award. So what is it? Is it like a plaque or a trophy or a certificate or?
I don't know. I think maybe I don't know. I think maybe actually I think it's like a crystal, like a little crystal thing, something. But it's nice to know people appreciate the work that I do and recognize that. But I think there's probably a lot of other people that could have won the award in the state too.
So be honest. Like, how much do you use ChatGPT to write your articles?
I've actually, the only time I've done it, we wrote one article, maybe two articles, but I put, how ChatGPT ranks Arkansas's all-time football players or something like that. I've never just done it and just acted like it was my work. I would never do that. That.
I don't believe that.
I wouldn't. I have had some fun. Actually, with ChatGPT, one of the things I've noticed that it's not updated. So I couldn't go hey, and I have tried to do that, just see how it would do. Write me a preview, like a mock, like a dream season type thing. Write me a mock game story for Arkansas's game against Oklahoma State, and it just makes up the player names, and it doesn't have anything updated, I think, for the last couple of years, so everything's just kind of old information, so kind of impossible.
I use
to do
it
that.
with and this has actually been pretty good for me, and I am not anybody that's to give financial advice in whatsoever, but I always kind of punch in what's the most undervalued stock right now based on this report.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll spit it out, and for a paid site, and kind of get past the.
Oh, is that right?
Ones.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm gonna try to bring some bonus information for the listeners. A little outside of, nobody cares about the who's getting year 7 on the roster for the 4A football team.
I'll tell you where I've gotten kind of lost a little bit, wormhole-ish, is on image generators and stuff like Bing. You can, and I think there are other better ones out there than them, but you can type in just about anything you want and tell me and make it in a photorealistic, or put it in, do it like Picasso or something like that. And it will create, all kinds of weird, a lot of it's really creepy. I did this, show me a beaten and battered hog sitting on the bench in Bud Walton Arena, and it's got this muscled up huge Razorback with just sores and scratches all over his body, and it's really well done from an artistic standpoint, but it is super creepy. But you can you can put all kinds of weird stuff in there like that. So
let's get to the meat of the conversation. So
okay.
I know I used to always ask, why am I on the show? I don't understand. But now I have a little bit of leverage, I feel because I know I'm on the show now because I think you freed up some cap space. So what are we talking in terms of financial compensation for having me on the show? So apparently there's a ton of money in podcasting.
Yeah. I'll have to, I guess I'll have to consult AI and see where you're moving the needle in terms of viewership for shows that you're on versus shows that you're not. I can tell you one thing that moves the needle for these shows is when I put roster stuff off season, and that's that's a big focus of our show and what we do at HawgSports.
Rainwater, listening to it on repeat and writing it all down.
That's not
and reading the newspaper on the radio.
Oh, that's not true.
Hey, so
yeah.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to know, I guess. And maybe can you just pay me in the form of a press pass so I can get more access to the behind the scenes stuff.
So here's an interesting story for people. Back in the Petrino years, I'm sitting in the press box looking over on the field. The game's getting close to ending, and then suddenly I'm just overcome with the smell of bourbon, and I look to my right, and there's Keith just sitting there staring, not looking at me, just staring onto the field like he belongs there, where you had snuck into the press box, reeking of bourbon. I mean, I feel and I also feel there was when the Cotton Bowl in 2011, I guess it was 2012, but after the 2011 season, I believe you also snuck into the post-game press conference there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and that LSU game, little known fact, if you get to the press box, I rode the elevator down with Tim Brando on that one, but on just me and him, real awkward. But next to the press box is the play caller, the coordinator sit up there in the box. And so I actually got into I don't know if you knew that part, but I got into the LSU box and yelled at their coaches during the game. So anyway,
Wow.
no security up there whatsoever for anybody that wants to just go there. And maybe I'll see you again this season, even if you don't give me a press pass for full reign of the stadium. I am getting season tickets again, and I will. I'm trying to make 5 or 6 games this year, so I'll get around the security again.
Well, it's
not that hard. You just put your phone up to your ear and wear a sport coat or something to act like you're important.
I mean, so much of it, Keith, is just acting like you belong, and just what did I see? I was watching a movie the other day, and it was it's not Sherlock Holmes, but it's Enola Holmes. Have you seen that? I watched it with my daughter. It's got Millie Bobby Brown. Anyway, the dude who plays Superman is Sherlock Holmes, and he walks into like a police station. The guy's like stopping him like he needs to see some credentials or something. He just goes, "Don't be ridiculous," and just keeps walking. And I'm just thinking, I'm definitely gonna use something like that at some point. Don't be ridiculous. Like, of course I belong here. So you're coming to some games next year. Are you thinking about going to Oklahoma State maybe in Stillwater?
So there's a span of games at the beginning of the season. You don't have to. I mean, it's like a 200-mile radius, and you can go to everything. I mean, so I was thinking about Cousin Eddie and it down there, depending on my projects that I got going on here. I don't know if we'll see, but retired from coaching. We'll see if I'm gonna help our guy Alonzo Highsmith is up for some jobs up around in Phoenix, and I'm gonna help him, but not in a coaching aspect, probably in a fundraising for him.
Yeah, I mean, well, you got Oklahoma State. It's at Auburn. Texas A&M's there. October 5th,
for some
Tennessee.
reason I thought the Auburn game was a home game, but yeah, they did change it. It was all TBA.
Yeah, Tennessee. The October slate is nice. Finally, you got Tennessee October 5th, and you get a bye week, and then you could come in town for my birthday on October 19th. LSU. I'll be 47 years old. Jeez. Yeah, I'll be 47. I'm 46 now, so I'll be 47 on October 19th for LSU. Don't have the best record on my birthday, I don't believe. You got Ole Miss November 2nd, Texas November 16th. I know you'll be back for that one. Louisiana Tech November 23rd. It's a great home slate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And hopefully I can get the seats that I've requested to upgrade. But hey, so I know I brought it up on the board, and it was pure just like connecting dots or whatever. Do you think Paul Petrino stepped down from his OC position in Central Michigan to come over in some capacity with the Razorbacks? Have you heard anything with that?
I have heard speculation on that. That doesn't sound like the craziest thing ever. I don't know why you would just step down without kind of announcing for another job, if you're Paul Petrino. So from an analyst standpoint or something like that, I think it makes all the sense in the world. There's other things I've been speculating about, like with Texas A&M has an athletic director opening, and I was thinking what if they looked at Hunter Yurachek or something, so anytime there's an opening, I start thinking about dominoes that could fall, or, even if, it's not that, I'm not saying it is, but if it's not that, whoever Texas A&M hires, what domino follows after that, kind of like the deal with, Nick Saban stepping down, domino, 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 and you never know when it's going to circle around to Arkansas. And so, yeah, I always think about things like that. But, with the Paul Petrino thing, it just feels like they might as well have announced him almost, I would almost be stunned if he doesn't end up back at Arkansas now.
I have zero sources. I never try to act like an insider, but sometimes I'll just throw something against the wall, and that's one of them. But I just found it interesting when it came out. And like you said, the way that it was announced kind of left the door open for maybe not a demotion, but taking a step back, because none of those guys are getting any younger.
No,
I mentioned to you on another show, I saw Chris Sinkovich, and he has aged rapidly.
Well, Sinkovich is just old. He's just older. He's been out of coaching.
He's always been that. He's that guy that he's got 4 knuckles on his thumb because he's injured it so many times.
Sinkovich, by the way, for those of you who don't remember, Chris Sinkovich he was wide receivers coach at Arkansas after Paul Petrino left. So
always horse. He's just
always
those
horse.
That are always
He's
horse.
a good guy. Yeah, I always liked Sink.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He got sold his house.
Oh, Vegas. Did you? Is that right?
Because he was at UNLV when he came to Arkansas. I really back in my most good brokers have to be like a private investigator as well. So it's slightly stalking, but
yeah. Well, I mean, if you follow what's going on in coaching changes and stuff, you probably make a lot of money in real estate. That's not a bad avenue really to think about, because those guys are usually buying big houses, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Paul Petrino makes $150K as offensive coordinator at Central Michigan. They don't make the $1 million like they do in the SEC. They make less than a position coach. So an analyst, I would think, in the SEC will make anywhere from probably $40 to $150K, depending on their experience level. I think that's about right, actually. So maybe it's, in that sense, maybe kind of a lateral move for him.
So as the roster gets finalized and I know we're in the middle of basketball season, and it looks like it may take form because Musselman's found his guy to run the offense through now that Mark's completely healthy. But with the football team, and as the rosters as we're nailing it down, if you're looking at it from, did we upgrade? We woefully we did not meet any sort of expectation last year and missed by a long shot. We're off by 5 games of where we should have been probably in the win column. Where do you think this roster stacks up against the one last year that looked like it was laden with talent?
That's a great question.
And I'll put it in terms of a real estate perspective. So what people did here, and I don't even think this is correct math. I'm a chart guy. So they took out years 2008 to 2013 and said, that didn't happen. What if it just kept on going at this rate, right? So let's just take out, what if last year we should have won 9 games? So if that's and that was kind of the preseason consensus. So 8 to 9 games. So if that season would have gone the same way, would this season be viewed as like a rebuilding thing, or just another year of trying to stabilize and try to, get?
I don't know if there are rebuilding
win season.
Yeah, I don't know if you consider rebuilding. The only time I would consider a rebuild is like first year of a head coach, because I never grade a head coach's performance on their first year. If I did, then Mike Norvell sucks. Bobby Petrino sucked at Arkansas. So that's the only time now that I really think of a rebuild, because you can go out and create the perfect roster through the transfer portal. I've kind of outlined, how many number of players you need at each position, and you can just go out and do that. You don't have to say like, well, we're really down here, numbers wise. If you are, then you didn't do a very good job doing your job in the transfer portal. Keith, it's hard to say, like, when you compare like to last year. I don't know about 9 wins. I think I picked them to win 8 wins, which was way off. Obviously made a bad hire with offensive coordinator, underestimated how far along the offensive line could come, and just really had some issues. There's still some players to add to this roster, but so much of it's going to come down to Taylon Green, Jacoby Criswell. I think it'll be Taylon Green, and these 3 offensive linemen that they've added. Like, how big of an impact do those guys make? They've got weapons at wide receiver, good enough weapons. I don't know if they would say, I think Petrino will turn some of these guys like an Isaiah Satania into a weapon. Obviously Andrew Armstrong has proven himself as an SEC receiver. I think Jaquindon Jackson I think he can be just as good as Rocket Sanders was. I think he has so much ability, especially running between the tackles, a hard runner, a guy that plays through injuries. I think that was a really nice addition for them. So it's the offensive line. How good is Taylon Green? I think the offense is going to be better, right? It's Petrino, so we should expect him to be better. I don't think they just hit the ground running back when he first arrived at Arkansas, though. It took some time, some growing pains and stuff, but they've got to be better than they were last year. And then defensively, I don't see any reason. I think I want to see him add a veteran linebacker. I think that you could run into a problem that you had last year, where you look at the offensive line and project these guys and say, these guys, are going to come along, and they just ultimately weren't ready yet. And I don't want to see them make that mistake at linebacker. I like the guys they have. I just want to see them add a proven guy there to the mix. And secondary, I think secondary should be just as good or better. Now, I feel like the defense let go of the rope last quarter of the season, and who can blame them the way things were going? They just weren't getting any help from the offense. But the first 3 quarters of the season, defense was pretty solid. I would take that defense, especially with the Petrino offense. So I think the schedule shapes up a little bit better. You don't have that 4-game road stretch. I don't know. I'm kind of talking myself into what – it's too early to make a prediction. But, yes, I do think that they damn well should be better than they were last year. And if they're not, then this whole thing's starting over. You know,
well, and I guess my thing is you can kind of like back in the day when a coach took over a program his first year, says, all right, we're going to have a rough year and get a little bit better next year. We're going to get a little bit better in year 3. And then year 4, we're going to be competing for a title or whatever the plan is. Bielema always spelled that out. Talking to him, they had a plan of where they should be by year 4 and 5, and you could project it. But all of that has changed now with, the free agent market that we're in right now. And so I guess my point is, like, not saying that Pittman gets a free pass by any means for last year, but looking at last year and preseason, like kind of saying, all right, well, after this, KJ is going to be gone, Rocket's going to be gone. You kind of see, like, if everything went well, they would have jumped for the league anyway instead of transferring. So at least that was probably their mind in their mind. Mm-hmm. So where would you put it? Like, what would the expectation be for this year? Or is it every year, like, now that you're saying it, like, if we have an NIL budget of $10 million a year, you better be competing for a 12-team playoff spot, and that's where everything changes too this year. I'm more excited about that because of the playoffs that we had this year with a 4-team, and expanding that is going to be ridiculous next year. And as Trey Biddy has always said, that the NIL and the 12-team playoff will benefit Arkansas greatly. And then now it looks like we are going back into the cycle of suck, but. It's like a whirlpool of suck now, dragging us down.
I'm just, as you're talking, I'm kind of just looking over the roster. I would like to see them add another veteran defensive tackle, but I mean, Eric Gregory, Keevy Rose, Cam Ball, and Ian Jafard, I think is going to take a nice step forward. I like where they are at end. Anton Junkaj, I think, is a nice addition to go opposite Landon Jackson. We'll see on Jashad Stewart. Technically, Jashad Stewart's still indefinitely suspended, which to me means he's indefinitely still on the roster, right? Otherwise, they'd just be like, oh, he's actually not part of this team. So we
run some stadiums.
Yeah. The linebacker, I mean, I think they have a chance. I mean, I'm looking at the roster here. I'm not seeing, like, where I would say just like, wow, they just really – dropped off dramatically, I'm just not, and I feel like the offense is going to be better. So to me, there's not really much of an excuse.
To see which direction the Petrino takes the scheme, and I encourage everybody, if you're a football nerd and you're listening to this podcast, because you probably are, would be a nerd for listening to this, you should definitely pick up Petrino's book. Is incredible. It is a Bible of offensive play calling. It's his whole play. It's like it's everything he's run. He goes through every period of his tenure at Louisville, wherever. So Arkansas, Western Kentucky, he goes over all and diagrams everything up. It is ridiculously. I mean, it's like 400 or 500 pages long, and it's all diagrams. It is incredible to look at and read through. So I definitely encourage everybody to if you're really like to study stuff like that, it is a really good read, and probably the best offensive playbook that I've. Or book that I've read through.
What I noticed, Keith, about Petrino when he was at Arkansas before is he did not care if you knew his plays. When we would go through spring football, and he would open up every single practice in spring football, and we would watch them work all their plays, the whole playbook. And when he had his show, back when I guess people used to watch the coach's show. When he had his show, he would get on the board. He had his clicker. He'd get on the screen, and he would diagram and break down several of the plays and what they were trying to do, how it works, why it works, and break all that down. The thing where Petrino gets you is not so much that, like, his plays and stuff. It's that you don't know what he's going to call, when he's going to call it. He just has a knack for calling something that you just don't expect. And we certainly saw that several times. Everybody remembers and talks about the Cowboy go-get-it play and, the play that they ran against LSU to Joe Adams over the top against the Honey Badger before he was, I guess, known as the Honey Badger. But plays like that, those were where Petrino gets you. Now, he wasn't letting us into practice game week, because they're coming up with their script and all those kinds of things. But during the spring, he just opened up the whole thing for us.
I know kind of people's eyes glaze over when I say things like this, but I had a chance to talk to him when he first took the job, and I think he was in year 2. And he came out here on a recruiting visit, and we were watching a basketball game with one of the recruits, and we spent the entire game the player his recruiting got ejected, and so he didn't really have anything else there to do. He signed with UCLA anyway. He spent the whole thing, and I asked him questions about how he attacked Saban's rip Liz match coverage, and it was an hour and a half, and I had no idea. It was all about playing basically the leverage of the defender and how he's trying to get somebody to match up. Is a guy like Satania to match up on the nickel, who's now there's been obviously advances on defense to counteract that. But if you can get a linebacker on a slot, then the person who's going to benefit the most from this is Luke Haas. I mean, I think I really am excited that he's coming back, and he is going to be an All-American. I mean,
I don't think we've seen the best. I don't think we've seen near the best of Marquise Gums either. I think he's another guy that could really step up. I had an idea, Keith, just now. We were talking about books, and I think you should write a book, and the title of the book is How to Worm Your Way In, because we've already talked about sneaking into certain areas, and like I think you were down on the field for that Cotton Bowl. Also, it snuck into press conferences, snuck into the press box. You have sat down and had dinner, I believe, with Pittman. You just told us about how you wormed your way in with Petrino.
Oh,
that's the name of the book.
Worm is not maybe.
It's not an endearing term, but it's a catchy.
It's probably Grubb's brother autobiography, maybe or whatever that. The backstory on it. Anyway, so
yeah, I know Grubb.
maybe I don't know if I would say that. Well, and now I got.
You don't like the title? It's a working title.
Now I have money, so watch out. I'm gonna. You want to talk to some guy that had confidence, too much confidence when he was broke. Mm-hmm. Wait until he's new money. So
you're telling me you wouldn't go into like a Barnes and Noble and you see this sitting up on the shelf and the title is big letters, Worm Your Way In. You wouldn't take a look at that book?
You know me well enough. Do you think I've ever been into a Barnes and Noble?
Well, so you go
on high school with a 1.7 GPA at Little Rock Central.
You go on Audible. You're scrolling through Audible. You're looking at books to read or listen to. I don't know.
I am. So with that being said, I have in my notes tab, I have a little thing jotted down that I've been working on called Cooper's Orbit, kind of a spot in Little Rock. And I have a note to reach out to some of the people that are way smarter than me and more creative to do something about that spot. Nobody is listening to this show right now, right? Nobody. This has gone off the rails.
We've got 242 people watching it live right now.
Oh, all right. Well, it's better than some. Okay. Well, I definitely I like creative writing. I've gotten away from it. My outlet used to be on the board. Maybe I need to bring that back a little bit.
Yeah,
but I love writing.
Well, Keith, it's been just a pleasure.
I'm not worming my way into success. My success has come from I'm decent at math and I'm really good at financing things, and I will ask anybody for help. And I've worked 7 days a week since I was 14 years old. Yeah. And being from Arkansas, I know a dog Arkansas from time to time, but I wear that on my chest with pride, and I've worked my ass off my entire life, and that's why we're friends, because you do the same.
Yeah.
And I surround myself with people that are dedicated to things and growing businesses and doing things in a very blue collar mentality in a white collar world, and that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I feel the exact same way.
And that's the way, dude, Danny West. I mean, same salt of the earth people.
Yeah, Danny's a dog.
Even though he doesn't respond to anything I ask, he never responded to me one time. Our group thread is just me, a bunch of blue messages from me. Nobody responds. You guys are.
Well, Keith, it's been a pleasure as always having you on. Thanks for the insight, fan perspective, and just the banter overall. It's always fun to talk.
All right. See you next week, buddy.
All right, brother. Talk to you later. All right, everybody. Keith Grayson. Don't follow him at Keith Grayson _, because that's not a working Twitter account. I got to update that, but certainly loved having him on. Loved having Danny West on, of course, to provide some insight, and I want to thank all of you guys for watching the show. All of our subscribers at HawgSports.com. If you're not a subscriber, go check us out for $1 right now for your first month. Find out all of the Razorback off-season news at HawgSports.com. All right, everybody. For Danny West, for Keith Grayson, this has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and we'll catch you next time.